From the moment I laid eyes on Chief Martini's mansion, it was impossible not to feel a pang of envy. Chief Martini was a wealthy politician, a force to be reckoned with. His name resonated through our community like thunder, fueled by his influence and charisma. Yet, beneath that shimmering facade loomed a difficult reality. His wife, Favour, was fierce and controlling, a woman whose outward beauty marks an unrelenting grip on him. Despite their opulent lifestyle, they lacked what every couple craved: children. The weight of Favour's attitude pressed like a shroud over their home, and in contrast, I often marveled at the powerful yet lonely figure that was Chief Martini. I had grown close to Favour, more out of necessity than choice. As the wife of Chief Martini's closest friend, Willie, I was drawn into their orbit, not by sheer luck, but by a complex friendship woven with unspoken tension. Favour adored Chief Martini, but her love felt strangled by control. He refused to take more wives like other men of equal status, despite Favour not able to give him a child. Many in our community whispered about juju, spiritual powers attributed to her hold on him. But beneath her fierce exterior, I saw glimpses of vulnerability. While upholding her reputation, I often couldn't help but wonder how she truly felt about her man, an admiration tinged with jealousy for the strength I saw in Chief Martini. There was something magnetic about Chief Martini. I often caught myself stealing glances when we were all together, drawn to his commanding presence. He exuded confidence that was hard to resist. One sunny afternoon at a wedding party, I felt my heart race as our eyes locked across the crowd, his deep gaze sending a thrill through my entire being. Was it wrong to feel this way? I brushed off the guilt, focusing on the undeniable attraction that stirred within me. In that moment, I wanted to be more than just Favour's friend. I wanted to be the woman who could bring him the happiness he deserved. As fate would have it, Chief Martini began stopping by my supermarket more often. At first, it was simple exchanges, small talk about business and skills training. But soon, those casual encounters transformed into stolen moments over business meetings, where I'd catch him laughing at my jokes. Each meeting deepened our connection. The tension was palpable, and somewhere inside me, I felt a wicked thrill. I admired him not just for his wealth, but for his kindness, wrapped underneath layers of dissatisfaction. The chief deserved more than Favour suffocating love and more than what their marriage had become. That fateful night, while attending a charity gala, Chief Martini and I ended up in a secluded corner of the garden, the soft glow of fairy lights surrounding us. Our conversation flowed freely, and the chemistry crackled in the air. "Pat, do you think you could ever fall for someone as complicated as my life?" he asked, a hint of vulnerability in his tone. The sincerity in his eyes left me breathless, and as I locked gazes with him, the world around us melted away. I reached out, brushing my fingers against his hand, a moment laden with possibilities. I could feel the weight of yearning hang between us, and with each heartbeat, I edged closer to crossing the line that separated admiration from desire. It was in that heartbeat of hesitation that I realized what lay before me, an undeniable desire to be with him. But what would it mean for both of us? My heart raced with excitement and dread at the thought. Part of me wanted to dive into this whirlwind, to explore everything we could be, yet another part felt the cold grip of reality tighten around my mind. The chief was a devoted husband, even if his marriage felt like a gilded cage. Was I prepared to break that cage wide open and face the consequences? The following days were filled with turmoil. I found myself in the sanctuary of my supermarket, surrounded by laughter and chatter, yet profoundly alone. My thoughts swirled like a tempest, and each time I saw Favour, I was reminded of the life I could disrupt. The grip of ambition clashed with moral clarity, and I wrestled with myself. Did I really want to step into the chaos of their lives? I longed for the chief's attention and affection, but could I bear the weight of the choices I'd make? Everything I had worked for hung in the balance, and I knew I faced a choice that could change everything. That night, I stood on my balcony, staring at the moon, wrestling with my thoughts. The stars twinkled like possibilities, and in the silence of the night, I made a vow to myself. I wouldn't let my desires overshadow the love I had for my family. As much as I was drawn to Chief, I had to consider what it really meant to desire someone in a world suffocated by control and jealousy. I could admire him from afar, but crossing that line would open a door I couldn't close. My heart needed clarity to untangle my feelings from the mess I had created. As dawn broke, painting the sky with soft hues of gold and pink, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I would embrace my life, my family, my ambitions without losing myself in the tide of desire. The Chief would remain the man I admired from a distance, a symbol of the life that could have been but was not meant for me. I would be the woman who chose love over obsession, a nurturing mother, and a supportive friend to Favour, no matter how complicated things became. In the face of desire, I would cultivate the beauty of my own life and honor the choices I made, knowing that love sometimes meant letting go. For years, the dream of traveling to Dubai simmered in my heart like an ember waiting for a spark. The exotic markets, luxurious goods, and endless opportunities whispered promises of expansion for my supermarket. When I finally decided to ask the Chief for help in securing a visa, I felt both dread and excitement. Would this be the moment my hopes turned into reality or a slippery slope into something I shouldn't want? The Chief eagerly agreed to help. "I'll have my team get the visa sorted," he said, his voice smooth and reassuring. But he surprised me when he added, "And I'll book you a plane ticket and a stay at a 5-star hotel." The warmth of gratitude wrapped around me as I accepted his generous offer. Beneath this transactional arrangement lay an undercurrent of unspoken emotions, and I felt the simmering tension rise as he leaned closer, his eyes dancing with a mix of admiration and something else, something deeper. Once the arrangements were in place, I couldn't help but feel exhilarated. I told Willie I was pursuing a business venture in Dubai, and he beamed with pride over my ambitious plans. I wondered if he would sense the excitement and nervousness thrumming within me, knowing that the Chief would be there, too. As I packed, a thrill coursed through me. I felt reckless yet empowered. The prospect of being in Dubai, away from the prying eyes of our community, filled me with the intoxicating allure of adventure. Arriving in Dubai was like stepping into a dream. The city glimmered under the warm sun, a dazzling kaleidoscope of modernity and tradition. I checked into the hotel, my heart racing as I considered what awaited me. When the Chief arrived the next day, I felt my heart leap in my chest. A rush of emotions washed over me, igniting the sparks of attraction that had been smoldering beneath the surface. Once the door to the hotel room closed behind us, the electric tension exploded like fireworks in the night sky. The seductive ambience of our surroundings blurred the lines between right and wrong. I could feel the heat radiating from the chief, and suddenly all the unspoken words, the stolen glances, and the frisons of attraction we had navigated turned into a palpable force that drew us together. Every fiber of my being urged me to bridge the distance. And then it happened. One moment we were on opposite sides of the room, and the next, I was in his arms. I was eager to show him the depth of my desire and gratitude. The kiss was hungry, thirsty, filled with the longing that had been denied for far too long. I felt consumed, dissolved into the heat of the chief's body, the weight of desire overshadowing all rational thought. In that room, Dubai became our cocoon, safe from the judgmental whispers of our lives back home. We explored one another's bodies and desires, momentarily shedding the lives we had known. For the next week, Dubai became a playground for both of us. We wandered through bustling markets, devoured sumptuous meals, and laughed like young lovers. The anonymity of the city allowed us to step away from our obligations, indulging in the luxury of being carefree. Each day felt like a delightful escape, a brief rebellion against the lives that awaited us. I found myself caught up in the happiness of it all, forgetting the complexities waiting back home, even if just for a fleeting moment. But in the soft glow of sunset, reality crept back in. As I stood on the balcony, the vibrant hues painting the sky, I was reminded that our time was limited. The allure of this escapade stood at odds with the weight of guilt tugging at my heart. Was I truly prepared to return to my life knowing I had crossed a line? I thought of Willie, of the unwavering trust in his eyes. My mind raced, battling between the thrill of love and the bitter taste of betrayal. As our time together drew to a close, the gravity of what we had shared sank in. The chief and I stood in our hotel room, the air thick with unexpressed feelings. "This isn't just a trip for me," the chief said softly, searching my eyes for an answer. It was an unspoken promise lingering in the air, an invitation to a world of what-ifs. But I had to let him go. With every fiber of my being, I knew this was a chapter that had to end. With each step toward the departure gate, I felt both exhilarated and shattered. Dubai had offered me a taste of forbidden desire, filled with laughter, passion, and warmth, but it also left me with a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't easily translate back into my reality. I had made memories wrapped in beauty while carrying the weight of guilt that would follow me home. Unfolding secrets lay between the chief and me. What came next remained to be seen, but I knew the echoes of our time together would haunt me long after I set foot back on familiar ground. Weeks had passed since I returned from Dubai, weaving joy and apprehension into the fabric of my daily life. That fateful morning, the moment of truth arrived. Standing there, I stared at the pregnancy test, the words "a pregnant" staring back at me like an accusation. My heart raced as I grappled with the reality of it all. The thrill of new life clashed violently with uncertainty. Was this child the product of my passionate encounter with the chief or a continuation of my life with Willie? When I finally found the courage to tell Willie, he was overjoyed, almost childlike in his excitement. "Finally, an addition to our family," he exclaimed, his eyes glowing with hope. But inside, I felt a storm brewing. How could I share this precious moment with him when I was haunted by doubts? Each time he placed his hand on my belly, a knot tightened in my throat, and the weight of my secret threatened to crush me beneath its guilt. When Moses was born, he was the epitome of innocence. I held him close, feeling the warmth radiating from his tiny body. Even as joy flooded my heart, a shadow loomed over us, my mind racing with the unspeakable thoughts of paternity. His features, a mix of Willie's gentleness and the striking resemblance to the chief, haunted me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was tethered to a web of lies, each thread tightening around me with every smile I gave to my husband. As the months slipped away and Moses grew, his resemblance to the chief became unmistakable. Friends would comment, raising suspicions that clawed at my insides. "He looks just like Chief Martini," they'd whisper, laughter dancing in their eyes. I brushed their words aside, yet each chuckle echoed in my mind like a warning bell. My fear intensified, particularly every time Favour caught sight of my son. She was still battling her own demons, the heartache of wanting a child she couldn't have, even with all the money in the world. The unease between Favour and me festered beneath the surface. At community gatherings, there was a palpable tension. Favour's smile never quite reached her eyes when she looked at Moses. I could feel her suspicion radiate like an electric current, an unspoken accusation. And in those moments, something dark coiled inside me, a fear of retribution. What would she do if she suspected the truth? I had heard stories, whispers of juju and the lengths a woman could go to keep her grasp on power. One evening, the chief confronted me under the pretense of discussing my help with his political campaign. "Pat, is there something I should know about Moses?" he asked, his eyes searching mine intently. Panic coursed through my veins, but I forced stability into my voice, shaking my head firmly. "He's not yours, Chief. You must believe me." I could see the doubt flickering in his gaze as I declined his persistent suggestion for a paternity test. The truth twisted like a knife in my gut, and I felt the walls closing in, a noose tightening around my heart. Despite my words, the chief treated Moses differently, like a precious secret shared only between them. At his birthdays, the extravagant gifts he sent overflowed like love from a proud father. I watched with a bittersweet smile, torn between joy for my son and the twisting ache of guilt in my heart. Each gift felt like a dagger driven into the frayed edges of my conscience, a reminder of the unentrusted affection I had allowed to blossom into something dangerously beautiful. The whispers never abated. At the church, I could feel the eyes of the neighborhood women scrutinizing every interaction between Moses and me, particularly when the chief was near. Each laugh shared, every embrace between them was flicked with suspicion. "Moses is so like his father," they'd murmur, and while their voices were light, the undercurrent was anything but. Each day became a balancing act, and I felt the tension building, waiting for someone to put the pieces together. Working at the supermarket allowed me a respite, a place where I could lose myself in daily tasks. Yet, with every customer's arrival, the fear of exposure gripped my heart. How long could I keep the secret? What would happen if the truth came crashing down? I could sense the aura of unease creeping in like an unwelcome guest, suffocating and relentless. The facade I wore crumbled further with each day, and I feared I was losing more than just my reputation. I was at risk of losing the love and trust one had carefully built with Willie. And so it came to this, the day I felt the world would finally collide. At the chief's birthday party, I sensed Favour's presence like a shadow looming over me. The icy glares exchanged were laden with suspicion and bitterness, the air crackling with tension. I could feel the storm brewing. Deep down, I knew that Favour's jealousy would inevitably lead to confrontation. Maybe it would be the chief's desperation for a son and heir that will result in a public showdown to claim Moses as his own. I braced myself for what would come next, knowing that all it would take was a whisper, a mere suggestion of what I had hidden, to turn our lives upside down.